Now that we understand why price is important and the different goals of pricing, it's important to understand how businesses decide on what price they're actually going to charge. Now, most price planning begins with an analysis of costs and expenses and the calculation of what's called a break-even point. So the break-even point is what's defined as the amount of product that we have to sell in order for our revenue to equal our costs and expenses. Now, this is measured in a whole unit because, again, we're asking how much do I need to sell of this in order to break even, as in make $0. I'm not losing any money, but I'm not making any money. Now, the break-even point is found by taking our total fixed costs and dividing it by the price we plan to charge for the item. So let's say that I plan to make 100,000 Barbies. I'm going to sell them for $6 each. They cost me $4.50 each to make. If I'm trying to find my break-even point, the first thing I need to do is take my total fixed costs, and I need to find that by multiplying the total amount of Barbies I'm making, 100,000, by the individual cost, $4.50 each. And then I'm going to divide that by the price I'm going to sell them at. So I'm going to divide it by $6. So if I take $4.50 times 100,000, it's going to cost me $450,000 to make these Barbies. I'm going to sell them at $6 each, which means I need to sell 75,000 Barbie dolls in order to break even. Another way to think about this is, remember, we're trying to figure out when does our revenue equal our costs or expenses. So our costs were $450,000. Now, if I sold 75,000 Barbies at $6 each, I would make $450,000. So my revenue would equal my costs. I would break even. So the big question is, what do marketers do if a cost or expense increase or if a sales decline? Because those are two things that we said made up our break-even point. Well, one thing that a business might do is actually change the size of an item, and that would in turn lower the cost it takes to make the item. So for example, if I sell chocolate, I have a pretty established price of a chocolate bar, maybe it's $1. Rather than trying to raise the price of a chocolate bar, I could decrease the size from, let's say, 4 to 3.5 ounces. So it costs me less to make the candy bar, and I'm still earning that same amount of money. Another option I would have is to drop the feature, which would also lower the cost. So for example, airlines have done this a lot. They've stopped offering complimentary beverages or even a free carry-on item. And that means that they're able to lower their costs overall and, again, still have a chance to make profit. The opposite could be an option for you to do as well, and that would be to add or improve features that would justify you charging a higher price if your expenses and your costs increase. So, for example, Ford did that a lot when they designed the comfortable super cabs, or they offer like a higher towing package. Those are improved features, and customers are willing to pay more because they think those features justify the higher price. Now, supply and demand also have a very big impact on pricing, and specifically this is called demand elasticity. So what we mean by this is how much does the demand change in relation to the price you charge? And there are two types of demand elasticities. There's elastic demand, which means that a change in price creates a change in demand. So these are typically items that we want, because if I have a massive change in price, I might just say forget about it. Like in this example where the Coca-Cola all of a sudden jumps a huge amount, I'm going to be like, nah, I don't need this. Now, inelastic demand is for the needs. It means that if there's a change in price, I do not have a change in demand. I'm inelastic, it's not changing. So for example, let's say the price of milk all of a sudden jumps. I might still need to buy milk, and so that's an inelastic demand. Other needs that would be inelastic could be like gas for your car or medicine for you that you have to have. So elastic changes and inelastic does not change. So, quick review. Number 1, setting prices higher than the competition will put your business on a fast track to failure. Is this statement true or false, and why? This would actually be false. You could set your prices higher, and that could create an upscale image like the Gucci example we gave earlier, or you could offer more features that customers think are worth higher prices. Number 2, many people with diabetes depend on insulin. If the price of insulin went up to $10, would the demand go down as suggested by the theory of supply and demand? This is actually false. Because insulin is a need, this means it's an inelastic demand. The change in price will not change the demand because people are going to need their medicine and their insulin.